Guys? Paul from Golfers Authority. Welcome to the Behind the Golf Brand podcast. We're on episode 67, which took me about 5 minutes to figure that out. Today, I have Lisa O'Hurley from LOHLA Sport. I'm really excited to have her on. You guys probably know her from her past and all the cool things she's done. And she's now in a new endeavor with LOHLA Sport, and I love supporting women's golf. And I'm really excited to have her on the show. So welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you, Paul.
So we play a game on the show, and it's called Where Are You At Right Now? Where are you located?
Like specifically, I
Like
am
your address. I want to know your exact address, like right now, so people can Google it.
31356. No, I'm
That
at
works.
my I'm at my office/warehouse here in Westlake Village, California. Just just a little bit outside of LA. We call it North Malibu.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, how big is your office space? Is it like a big, like a warehouse? Like, is it like front?
Actually, it is it's only 1,700 square feet.
Okay.
And in 1 year, we are bursting at the seams. Like I've got
Really?
squirts coming out the window. So we are about to move. In 2 months' time, we're moving to about 4,300 square feet.
That's
And at
big.
that point, I will be inviting you over to visit because we will have like an espresso machine and a nice couch and a showroom and all those fancy things.
So I would love that. So like I am already going out next month because I work with a brand called Minimal. They're like a bag
Okay.
company,
Hmm.
and so like what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go and like we're gonna do like kind of behind the scenes
Okay.
of their location, and then we're gonna go play golf. So that'd be fun to do with you.
There you go.
You probably would kick my ass, but it
Okay.
would be cool. I know you're good,
So
so
once I've moved in to the new digs, we can do a behind the scenes there, and then I will take you to play Sherwood. If that
that would be
works for
freaking
you.
awesome.
Okay. It's
It
good.
would be
It's
like
really,
really cool. Like I would enjoy that. Like
it's really fun.
actually, I'm actually playing for everybody to know out there. I am playing next month. We're doing this with Jane Spicer from Daphne's Head Covers.
Oh,
So
I
she lives
love their
in yeah, and so here's a story, right? So like a year or 2 years, I've been friends with her for like 2 or 3 years, and so I said I want you on the podcast, and she was like, we should do it where we do like golf car karaoke, where we can just like be singing songs and have fun. I was like, I'd do that, and then we never did it because COVID happened and whatever. So then I emailed her. I'm like, we should do that now. She's like, I would love to do that. That'd be so much fun. And so like,
uh-huh.
I think that I would watch that on YouTube, right? Like partly behind the scenes, partly having fun playing golf. Like why not, right? So
Uh-huh.
that'd be awesome. I would enjoy that.
So
So
where are you playing with her? Do you know?
I don't know yet. I just
Okay.
emailed her yesterday. I'm like, hey, we got. Where do you want
I
to go
well,
play
tell her
at?
I like the head covers. I have all of
Do
them
you?
pretty much.
Do
In
you?
fact, I used to well during COVID, as you know, golf was took quite an upswing during COVID. And at my son's junior high out here, or middle school, I guess they call it out here. Um, I actually coached the boys golf club, which is what they had during COVID because everybody wanted to play golf. So I had 60 boys that we coached to play golf during COVID. And when it came down to the year-end culmination, the trophies that I gave were all Daphne head covers.
Oh, that's
It
cool.
was awesome. It looks so good. Anyway, so you can relay that information that they
Which one
also
did you give them, or which one
oh,
was
I
it? All
got
different
I
ones?
had a huge assortment. So, yeah, so anyway, and they got to pick which one they want. So as soon as they, won something, they came up and got to pick from the large array. And, yeah, so anyway, you can also relay that information to her that they make great trophies.
Oh, that's cool. She's classy, man. I love her. She's
Yeah.
so cool. Like I didn't know the so here's another story too. Like I did a unboxing for her like when I first met her. And so like while I was filming it, my videographer was like, it'd be so funny, like we should do a puppet show. And I was like, I'd do that. So like at the end like at the end of the unboxing, like when our outtakes, like we were literally doing like a puppet show with like head covers.
Uh-huh.
Or I was at least. So I was
That's
here's the rest of the story. So I was super embarrassed, right? So I do this show, I do the unboxing. I have a Zoom call with her. I'm like, hey, I want to show you my unboxing. I'm really excited about it. And I show it to her, and I'm like, wait, and she's watching it, and she's watching. I'm like, and then we do the puppet shows at the end. I'm like super embarrassed, and she's like, I'm like, oh my god, what's she gonna say? And she started crying. She's like, that was the nicest thing. I was like, seriously? She's like, oh, I love it. I was like, Oh my God, really? That's so cool. So,
Oh, that's so funny.
so what like we're gonna start from the beginning, right? So when you like, where did you grow up at? Because you moved around, right?
I did. I moved a lot. So I grew up in country clubs. My dad was a general manager of country clubs. And for most of my growing up years, he worked for Club Corps. And so I was born in Dallas. We lived in Texas a lot. Um, but then he was sort of a regional manager. So whenever they would buy a new club, we would go there. So I moved around a lot um, between Texas, Colorado, once in South Carolina. And when I'm saying this, I mean back and forth, Texas, Colorado. It's like we were bouncing. And then he left Club Corps and went independent, and we landed in Phoenix, Arizona, which is where I finished out my high school golf career, and where I would say, I mean, even though I started playing in Houston, which was a phenomenal experience, but it wasn't until I got to Phoenix that I became uber competitive, I would say.
Really?
Yes.
Was your dad like on you though to be competitive or not really? Like
No,
he was just supportive, like, oh,
no.
this is cool. Like I want her to be good.
He would I used to ride around in the cart with him, but it wasn't until I was going into my freshman year in high school and I was living in Houston, and that particular school had the number one girls team in the state. And I thought, oh, well, that'd be kind of fun. So I asked my dad if I could have lessons at the club. And back then, so there was a guy who used to play on tour. Now he's a broadcaster named Billy Ray Brown. I don't know if you know the name.
I heard
Anyway,
him, yeah.
he worked for my dad at the time, and he gave me my first lessons. And I went from never playing to playing, I don't know, 14 hours a day. And by the time I'd played for 3 years, I was a one handicap. So I was
Dang.
intense, let's just say. I
That's
was
so cool.
I was in
Like
it.
you were that, and it probably like because the girls you were playing with at the time were like really good too, so it makes you even more competitive because it steps up
Yep.
your game because you're like, you know,
Well,
wanting to
and
compete.
when I was a freshman, the girls who were really good obviously were the juniors and seniors, and it was just cool to hang out with them at the time. You were a freshman girl and they would ask you to go do stuff, so you jump at the chance. So I played a lot of golf with them. And then we moved to Phoenix, and the school that I went to in Phoenix was, I mean, pretty much a breeding ground for girls golf. And so it was very, very competitive, but in a fun way. I mean, we got out of school early every day because our team was that good. We had to be at the golf course, and it was a whole new world of golf that opened up to me when I moved to Phoenix.
Like a different level. So when you moved out here to Phoenix, like where was your dad working at? Or
He
was he
was at
working on
Phoenix
different
Country
courses?
Club. He was
Okay.
at Phoenix Country Club. Yeah.
So did you guys live around there, like downtown? Like where was the?
We lived, and my parents still have a house near the Biltmore area. So
Oh,
like
there.
24th and Missouri. Yeah. It's a great area. It's so central to everything. Yes. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's blown up. That area is like
Oh,
super
it's
expensive
huge.
now, and it's
Condo
like
crazy. Yeah.
yeah, it's changed a lot. Like I have a client of mine who like literally bought his neighbor's house to knock it down into. I'm
Oh,
like, who
yeah.
does that? Like, and he's like, and he put and you know
He does that in Arizona.
and he
Right.
spent and he paid cash for his neighbor's house and it was a lot of money. I
Yeah.
was like, what the
Uh-huh.
heck? It's changed. That whole area is blown up so much,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Central Phoenix is really exploded. Um, so then did your how long did your dad like continue with that? Is he retired now
Oh,
or is he
well,
working
no, he
still?
works for me now.
For reals?
Yeah, for real.
That's
So,
full circle.
yeah, well, so, you can imagine that being however many years, 35 years in the club business. And then my mom was a merchandise buyer.
Oh my
So
god.
even though they were never at the same place. So for instance, when we lived in Phoenix, my mom was a merchandise buyer at the time at John Gardner's Tennis Ranch, which is now or no, it's not Enchantment. I forget what it's called now. Anyway, Sanctuary.
Centera. Yeah, Sanctuary.
Um, it's called Sanctuary. And then they moved to Vail for 20 years. And my dad was at Country Club of the Rockies, and my mom was at Sonnenalp. And so then when I was with my previous line that I was with Golfino, um,
Which is
which
huge.
was a European line that I brought over to the United States. So I started their business here, and I needed help. And at the time, my mom was kind of like, her health wasn't that great living in high altitude in Vail.
Oh yeah.
So because she has asthma. So, they both kind of talked about it and said, well, we kind of want to get to a lower climate anyway. So they moved back to Arizona, started helping me with Golfino, and cut to however many years later. Now they work as a team, and they are my wholesale reps in California, Arizona, Nevada, and Hawaii.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's like, and they know what they're doing too. That's the thing too. Like they really know what they're doing.
They have tons.
I love it.
They're overqualified. Yes.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah, and they love it. Yes.
So they just travel to the courses and like talking.
Yes. And and they know everybody.
Yeah. Already. Yeah.
They know
like
everybody
there.
Yeah. So it's very helpful having them on board. Yes.
But when you were at your previous brand, though, they weren't helping you, right? That was kind
no,
of
they were. They were. So yes,
wow.
Because when I got that brand, it was basically me and the whole United States, and so
and the whole United States.
It was a lot. It was a lot, and so they helped me with trade shows, and I wasn't in the production side there. I was just really in sales and marketing. So they helped with wholesale sales there. So it was a great, transition then.
So you went to high school out here, and then you went to college. I know, where did you go to college at?
I went to Baylor, Sick Bears. Hey.
You're still like, you're extremely loyal to your college.
I wear green underwear every day. Just kidding. I'm extremely loyal to my college. Yes.
Did you play golf there too?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm. I played for 3 years. And then I quit my 4th year because I knew I didn't want to turn pro, and I was really involved in my sorority. And so sorority trumped golf in my senior year. But that was okay because, I didn't, it's funny. I didn't plan on going pro. And then just so happened that while I was a senior, I read in the Dallas Morning News one morning about a golf television network that was being born. And I thought, that sounds fun. Sounds interesting. And so I put a few feelers out, and about 4 months later, I got hired in the very, very beginning of the Golf Channel.
What year was that?
1990. I started in 1995.
Oh, wow.
So we launched January 17th of 1995.
I remember that. My dad was like addicted to it.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people were.
I think a lot of people were back then.
Yeah, thankfully.
So then what was your initial role there at Golf Channel?
So I had 3 distinct jobs there, and I was there 11 years. My first job was distribution because when we first started, we didn't have anyone watching. So we had to, and it was a pay service. It was like HBO, like you had to pay $6.95.
Like an upgrade or
$6.95 a month. Yes. So I was first in distribution, and I had from the Mississippi River west. That was my territory, including Guam. Which
did you get to go there?
No, I'm not going to Guam. They were oddly one of our first people.
But they're a territory.
Well, yeah, and it was a military base, and they love the Golf Channel. So anyway, it was very odd. Anyway, so I was in distribution for the first 4 years, and during that time, we went from 0 subscribers to, in my territory, 23 million subscribers, and then they moved me to Orlando, where I renegotiated all the tour contracts because we were 4 years in, and all of our tour contracts were up for renegotiation.
And they're probably like really crappy in the beginning too, because they're just trying to get
we had
the content, and now it's like, wait a minute, now we have a little leverage.
Paul, I kid you not, we didn't have one ticket. If I said, oh, we're showing the whatever it is, let's just say the,
whatever open
Dubai Masters, okay, because we had a lot of Europe tour back then. If we were to say, oh, can I get a ticket to that? We didn't have one. We had no access to anything. So after 4 years, we had to wrap in marketing elements and sponsorship opportunities and things that we didn't have early on. So anyway, so that was my job for a year and a half. And then I begged to go back to Los Angeles. And so then I ran endemic sponsorship sales in the West. So basically it was all the golf companies. So every golf company, I ran their product placement, commercial placement, player placement. So Callaway, Nike, Adidas, TaylorMade, all of them. So that was a big job. And
could imagine.
And it was a huge revenue producer because that was where the bulk of our revenue was coming from at the time. So nowadays, when all these new people started the Golf Channel, I say, well, I like to think I paved the way for you guys. It was
Well, yeah, because it's like uncharted
early on.
territory, right? Because I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of like how the internet was, or internet is
yeah,
now. It's like if you're gonna start like you have to start on the ground, right, and figure it
yes,
out. And
uh-huh,
especially then, like it's a different time, you know.
yes.
Um,
Oh, it was, and I learned about something that I knew nothing about, which was the television industry and the cable TV industry and sponsorship sales, and now I'm quite good at that. And I worked for that man who's directly behind your shoulder. He
yeah,
was
so tell me that. I want to hear that story because
he
he's
was
my
our
favorite.
yeah, he was our chairman, and on our board and very involved during my whole time there. And so I was, early on, I was in the Los Angeles office, but I used to, whenever time I would go to Florida, after I first met him the first time, I don't know. I mean, I think, well, first of all, he knew I played golf. There were very few women to work there then as well. But the fact that I could also, really play
Hang,
golf well,
yeah,
yeah,
like yeah.
hang and talk the talk. He and I just became very close over the years. Like in fact, when they moved me from Los Angeles to Orlando to renegotiate the tour contracts, it was him and our CEO who flew out to take me to dinner to convince me to move. So he was very, very instrumental in me being there, and the kindest man I'll probably ever know. And I remember when after Winnie had passed away, and he was about to marry Kit, who's his second wife. Um, we were at our Golf Channel Christmas party, and I had just brought in my fiance, soon to be husband, John, and introduced the two of them for the first time. And I can remember Arnold was a little, and he kind of took me aside and he says, okay, so you like him? I said, yes, I do. I said, I think I'm going to marry him, Arnold. And he goes, well, maybe we should have a 2 for wedding. We can get married the same day. I'm like, I don't think so. I think, you might steal our limelight just a little bit. But no, he's such a wonderful person. And anyway,
I love him.
I'm
I
so
mean, from
honored.
afar.
I'm so honored to have known him.
Like really known him, not like,
Truly.
oh, I
Yeah,
know him,
yeah,
but like known him as a
truly to
person.
have known him. I have some one time in Scottsdale, when he was still playing on the Champions Tour. And I was early on at the Golf Channel. Maybe I was there for 3 years. I don't remember, but I had gone out to see him. And, he would give me tickets and things, which was great. And so I had took my parents out to walk around, and we were kind of, of course, everybody wants to see him, and we're sort of against the ropes where, he's heading to the first tee. And I remember this woman kind of like inching in on me, and she stepped on my foot. And she goes, excuse me. And she's like trying to get up there. And then he somehow sees me through the crowd and reaches in and pulls me under the ropes. And she looks at
Really?
me like, what? Who are you? Anyway, it's just very funny.
Did you walk with him? I'm
What's
behind.
that?
Did you walk with him then, or you said hi to you?
No, I think I just said hi and then I went back.
Nah, that's pretty cool.
But yeah. It was really
So, I mean, I always loved him. I always thought like he's different. He's special. I don't
very.
know. There's
He
just
he's so personable. I haven't met anybody who is of that importance that you can spend even 10 minutes with and you feel like they've enjoyed the time with you. Like
yeah, it's not fake.
he
You know,
really made you feel special.
I don't
It
know.
was
I think it's just who he is and where he grew up and his generation and like I don't know. I think he loves the game and
mhm,
I mean the game was built on his back, right? Like
truly. Yeah.
where it's at now, right? I
Yeah.
mean, um,
Especially in television. Golf on television would not be anywhere where it is now unless it was for him. So,
um. So how'd you meet your husband? I'm gonna ask that question because I want to know. I just wanted to know because I was like, that's random. I mean,
uh, it is kind of random. So first of all, maybe you should. So my husband is He was on Seinfeld. He played Jay Peterman.
That's cool. My wife
John
loves that show.
O'Hurley, and he was also on Family Feud and won the
Oh, that's
first
right.
season
He was, wasn't he? Like the.
first season of Dancing with the Stars. So he's got,
That's
you know,
right.
and he was like on a gazillion soap operas before I came into the picture. But
How'd you meet him?
so I met him. Well, you know, I live in LA. So first of all, you can
Yeah.
meet, there's a lot of people you meet, but I met him at a charity golf tournament for the ESPY Awards, actually. Um,
Were
and
you at Golf Channel back then,
I
or
was
when
the
was
golf
that?
channel, and I took some clients to play in this event, and he
Yeah.
was playing there as a celebrity. He wasn't in our group, but I met him at the dinner because he and I have a mutual friend in Billy Andrade, who's a tour player. And so as I was meeting him at some point, I said, "Oh, you know, you and I share a mutual friend." And then, you know, we went on our way. To be honest, he was with a date and I just assumed it was his wife. I wasn't really thinking anything. So I met
Yeah.
him and I
Exactly.
met her and I, you know, went on my way. And then about a month later, I was at a restaurant opening in Hollywood and it was way too crowded. And anyway, I was standing against a wall with my girlfriend and waiting for our table reservation, which was an hour late at the time. And she says, "Hey, I think that's that guy from Seinfeld over there." And I looked and I said, "Oh, yeah, it is." I go, "I met him last month at this tournament." I go, "He's very nice." And she goes, "Well, we should go say hi." And I said, "I don't want to bother him." And she goes, she looks and she says, "He's standing at a bar by himself. I'm sure he'd want us to say hi." So we went over and I reintroduced myself. And then he asked me to play golf after, you know, a quick chat. He asked me to play golf that week. So he was playing on Friday and he said, "Do you want to play?" And I said, "Yeah, okay." So when I show up, I still think he's married to the girl that I met, you
You're
know.
waiting to find a foursome, like, oh,
Yeah,
here's
I think
wife
I'm
and
just
here's mine,
whatever. I'm just,
whatever.
you know, and it wasn't like that unusual for me to go play golf with people. So I was, you know, I wasn't thinking, oh, this is some date.
Yeah.
Um, so on the second hole though, I said, "So do you have kids?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Oh, well, how long have you been married?" And he said, "I'm not married." And oh, okay. I go, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were." And then, and then on the seventh hole, he invited me to dinner that night at Hotel Bel Air, which is maybe the most romantic place in all of Los Angeles. So I thought, oh, this must be a date. So
You like put two and two together at that point.
that must be a date. And literally, we were like together every day after that.
It is
I can
it is
remember.
collect it is connected. Like
Yeah.
it just was meant to be.
Yes. It was
So when how long you guys been married?
17 years.
Oh wow.
I know.
I've been married 15 years, so I mean, you don't
Yeah,
realize how fast time goes by. That's the thing. Like
I know.
17
Yeah,
years. So then
17
how
years.
long were you guys together before you got married?
We were together 6 months and got engaged, and then another
That's
9 months
cool.
before we got married. Yeah, it's pretty quick.
That's really cool. That's just when I saw that, 'cause I know I just think it's just interesting story. I wanted to know,
Yeah.
because I mean, I know, and like you said, it's LA, right? So like when you just start, you bump into people, and it's just normal.
Yes.
Um, so then when did you start at the next company after Golf Channel? Like what made you
At
decide to leave and
GOLFINO?
start it? Yeah.
So I was still at Golf Channel when John and I got married, and then we had our son 2 years later, and I quit Golf Channel because I was traveling like crazy. And to be honest, I had done everything I could do for that
Yeah,
company.
you've been there long enough, and
I've
you've
been there a while.
accomplished so much, and then you're a mom, and
Yeah.
you're like,
So I
I don't need to do
decided
this anymore.
to you know be a mom and be a wife and enjoy my time doing those things. And it wasn't
Yeah.
until when our son Will was going into kindergarten, and then I was thinking, okay, I'm getting a little bit antsy to do something else. And during that time, John and I had been invited several years in a row to play in the Dunhill Links Championship in Scotland,
Wow.
which, by the way, is the most magnificent tournament I have ever been to. Um, and so we played there. Let's see, I played 4 years in a row. John played 7 years in a row. But during that time, we stayed at the Old Course Hotel. And in the Old Course Hotel, there is a Golfino shop. And, you know, I am sort of a fashion gal and a golfer. And so I'd never heard of it. And I went in there and I just loved it. And so, you know, year after year, I'd started bringing like empty suitcases because I knew by then I couldn't get it. And so I would just hoard it like, like a weirdo. And then after 4 years of that, I told John, I said, I'm going to go meet with them and see if I can start their business in America because it's that
So are they a
great.
German company? Where are they
They're
from?
German. Yeah, even though
Yeah.
it sounds Italian. It's because they started in the 80s, and to be a good fashion brand in the 80s, you had to sound Italian or you had to be Italian. So they made it sound Italian.
Naturally, Italians are the
Funny.
best.
Yeah, it was actually really great marketing. Um, so so anyway, I did go meet with them. I think that they looked up what my annual spend at that store was because I think they realized like I
They
was legit.
probably did. They looked at your like receipts and are like, "Holy crap!"
And I also, it's
We'll
so
just
funny.
talk to her because she spent a ton of money here. If we say no, she'll stop buying.
Yeah. One of exactly one of the times that I was
You
in
kept them
Scotland.
alive. You kept them alive for like the early
Well, that I
2000s.
did. I think I did. I kept that store afloat. Um, so one of the times I was in Scotland, though, I also because of the Golf Channel, um, the head of marketing for Titleist called me once, and she's like, "Lisa, we're filming this Titleist Pro V1 commercial while all the pros are there. Can you be in this commercial?" And I was like, "Okay." So I went to the GOLFINO store. I got all these new outfits, and I wore them in these commercials. And I was in these commercials for like they ran for like 4 years or something.
Wow.
So, of course, I also, let them know that I wore their clothes in these commercials. But anyway, so I went over there fully anticipating for them to say no, but somehow they said yes, and then began my 7-year career with GOLFINO
What year was that?
here in the United States. I started 2013.
Oh wow. So they
Yes.
really had no presence in the United States then.
No, 0. They
Like
didn't even have
0.
online then. I mean, they didn't, yeah, they had nothing.
For
But
reals?
they did have some brand recognition of people like me who had traveled and seen them because in the world they had 30 freestanding stores. So, if you go to Paris, there's one, London, in London they were in Harrods, so people had
It's higher end. I mean, it's
it's
not
very
like
yeah,
yeah, it's not like
high end.
basic. Yeah, it's nice stuff.
So yeah, people had known it a bit. They knew it enough at the key clubs where that's where I started. Started getting into those clubs where people traveled a lot.
And so then were they like I guess were they mainly green grass then? I would assume
Yes.
at like higher end
Yes.
clubs like
Yes.
what I
Exactly.
find is really interesting, like I got a lot of brands, is that like I feel like the newer brands today completely overlook green grass and they're like, I'm gonna go online sales, I'm gonna go online sales. But like the brands that are like really doing really well are doing green
Mhm.
grass and they have
Yeah.
some like they're not putting all their eggs in one basket essentially.
Right.
Um
Well,
I
green grass is it's the bread and butter. It is.
yeah, it is.
It is.
And you gotta work it. Like you gotta like
Oh,
build those
yeah.
relationships. Like
Oh, it's a
every
lot.
single one. Like and
Yeah.
I think people don't want to do that anymore. I think people are just like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna just run ads,
Yeah. No,
on
it
Facebook.
is a lot of work, but it's also those great relationships. And to be honest, these clubs, they market for you, which is great. You get into some of these wonderful clubs and they're displaying your merchandise and, that's it's so great for your brand because other people see it.
So as a CEO of a brand, what do you feel is more important to somebody? Like if they're green grass or big box retailer?
Well, it all depends on the brand. I'm a green grass brand. I am not a big box retailer brand. So, and that's because
Yeah.
it's just a little bit more upscale and it's a little bit more fine, let's just say.
Yeah, I get that.
I have very I have very fine Italian and French fabrics and our
You get
manufacturing.
what you pay for,
Yeah, you do.
right?
You do.
Yeah, and like I feel like a lot of people feel that like that when they get into big box, not saying they're like they think, oh, I made it into wherever, name any
Mhm.
golf store,
Right.
right? And then I'm like, yeah, but your margins are cut like by more than 50%, and like big deal because who goes to a big box retailer anymore to buy golf equipment? Like nobody.
Well, and the issue for me is that once you're in a big box retailer, and nothing against them, by the way, I
No,
visit the big box retailers all the time. That's where I get a lot of my staples that I need for golf.
we all do,
But
yeah. Or Amazon.
no, actually, I don't. I hardly buy anything on Amazon. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like one of the
Wow.
few. Anyway, but once you are located in a big box retailer, then the private clubs don't want you so much. They want to have
Interesting.
something that's unique and that you can't
Special,
get
right?
yes, you can't get everywhere. And so that's where we fall. That we're in that category.
The next like tiers, I guess you could kind of say,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Everyone does online, right? but then
Yes.
it's like, where do you fit in the next level? Like, do you want to
Yes.
go big box retailer, or do you want, and there's more clubs out there, right? There's more time investment, I would say, with those relationships than big box retailer, I would think. I don't know.
That's exactly right.
I mean,
I
like
mean,
some of the
not
big box
to be
retailers.
honest,
I mean,
not
that's
that I
it.
necessarily know because I'm not located in any big box retailers, but I'm sure there's a lot of relationships to be made there as well. But yes, it's a definite one-on-one relationship when you're dealing with the country clubs.
Yeah, and there's
You
a lot
start,
of them.
and let me tell you, you start to know their members too. Their members, you've got, Mrs. Smith, let's say, at Estancia, who wants, who loves our pant, and, she wants it in every color, and we need to let her know when it's, unveiled in the new colors. So
That's so cool.
you get to
But you get
know
real fans at that
members
point. You get real
there.
people that really like how you were with Golfino, right? Essentially, like
Yes.
you're
Mhm.
excited to see like, oh, the new stuff came out. Cool, I want to see it.
Yes.
Like, I think might get lost. So then, what made you decide to do your own brand, to start your own
Um,
brand, and when did you start it?
Necessity, actually. It's funny. It's not, I had never ever thought about this in my life. So it was not a long time dream of mine. But when COVID began, Golfino, as I said, they had a lot of freestanding stores, and those all closing at one time was somewhat catastrophic
Was that for
to the
COVID, or
brand.
is that because they decided to do that?
No, it was because of COVID. So that was somewhat catastrophic to the brand. And so the owners, it was family owned, they sold the brand to a oddly big box retailer located in London. So that company bought a couple of brands, Golfino being one. And in our discussions with them, they didn't want to do business in America. They weren't planning to produce anything new, and they certainly did not want to do wholesale. So
So what do they
that
want to do?
I to be honest, I'm
To
not
own the
entirely
label? Probably
they
open the.
found these big box stores, so I don't know if they just wanted to bring in the merchandise and sell. The
Yeah,
previous
who knows?
merchandise
It's just
owner,
interesting to hear that. I mean, it's interesting.
I'm really not sure. So,
Yeah.
but let's just say our conversations were brief because once we heard that news, there wasn't much hope for us with
There's no
Golfino.
work.
So, but as I just said, we've spent 7 years cultivating these great relationships, and we were in many, many clubs. And even our clubs were very upset to hear this. When we called and said, you're not going to be getting the Golfino product you ordered, they were, understandably upset. Similarly, there were other brands that were in our space, that were ladies premium brands that were, having some issues during COVID. And so there was shelf space to be had,
It was
without these
needed.
brands.
It was needed at these
Yeah.
places. They're like, we
So
don't have, yeah.
exactly. So after about 5 days of moping about this, then it kind of hit me like a thunderbolt. Like I told John at dinner, offhandedly, but boy, if you really ever wanted to start a premium ladies golf line, now is the time. And then he kind of looked at me and he goes, does that mean you're going to start a premium ladies golf line? And I said, well, I don't know. And
You never
then
thought about it.
yeah, well, huh. So then the next day, I got on the phone with, I had maintained really good relationships with all the people I had met through Golfino. I got on the phone with my favorite designer, who had designed for Golfino, and prior to that had designed for Burberry. He's an English lad.
Nice. Holy, that's
And
cool.
so I talked to him and I said, what do you think about this, about a ladies premium golf line? And he says, I'm in. I mean, it wasn't even 10 seconds. I'm in. I said, okay. So then he starts looking into, the fabric suppliers, the manufacturers, all of our production. He says, okay, I think we can do all of this. Like, I think it can be done. So then I had to go find investors, which I did, which that was a little more laborious than I thought it would be. But nonetheless, I did. And I have 5 wonderful investors. And we started. And we started initially because we didn't have, there was a time, it felt like the clock was ticking. There was only that shelf space for that amount of
Yeah,
time.
once it's filled, it's filled.
Yeah, and golf was at a height, because of COVID. So like everything was kind of snowballing. So we started literally with sketches, line sheet sketches. I had no samples. And we picked 70 of our best GOLFINO accounts and sent them to 70 people and said, will you buy this sight unseen? It'll be coming to you in, 4 months after we've made it, but will you buy it now? And out of 70 of our accounts, 51 bought it. And that's how we started.
Holy crap.
And I am so thankful for those 51 first customers that pretty much, I'll bend over backwards for them. whatever they want.
Well, they supported you. Like, that's
It
amazing.
has.
But yeah, the thing though, because you spent so many years cultivating those real relationships with people,
Mhm.
it was like it wasn't a sale, right? You weren't selling them something. It was more like they knew you weren't full of crap, and so
Right.
they like you already they trusted you. They knew that what you were doing was going to be something cool,
Well,
and then
and we kept the same quality. That was the big deal. We kept the same quality as GOLFINO. The same lovely fabrics, the same great manufacturing. So they knew what they were going to sort of get, and it turns out now many of them, like their orders are higher than they were at GOLFINO, which is, great. So
wow.
whatever we're producing, they're enjoying. Yes.
So how many stores are you in? Or not stores, but how many like locations
How
are you in
many?
now?
Yes, we're in
Shops, I guess you could say.
just shy of 200.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So, and we just turned a year old. So we're doing okay.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh
we're
shit,
doing
hold up,
okay.
hold up. I feel
So,
like yeah. And so then are you like how big is your team right now? Do you have like sales reps going
not
out to
many.
courses?
It's not many. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 salespeople. I don't have salespeople spread all across the United States because I learned with GOLFINO that it's not necessarily popular throughout the entire United States. So we have salespeople in key regions right now.
Yep.
And then I have a director of operations here in the warehouse to help me here. And then we have the designer in England, and that's about it. We're lean and mean right now.
Yeah, but that
But
makes
growth,
you nimble as hell. I mean, that's
it
the
does.
thing,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a huge advantage because I mean, you're able to not only produce the product, but you're able to like not worry about like tons of inventory and stuff that nobody will buy.
Yes.
Um, so then what? So you started literally a year ago. Like that's
Yes.
when you really like
So we
launched, I
started
guess you could say.
our first shipments were January of 2021.
Wow. So
Mhm.
then how with the delays in production, did that really affect you a lot too, like it did everybody else?
It has affected us. It didn't until recently.
Really?
This last round of COVID affected 2 out of 3 of our production facilities in Portugal because
Oh,
these
geez.
aren't massive facilities. They're, I hate to say, but not like China.
They're not mega
They're
factories.
more, yeah.
Yeah.
So when one person gets it, pretty much the whole place has to close because either they've all been, near it or they're on, restrictions that they have to, close down for a certain amount of time. So we had 2 out of our 3 production facilities were closed for 3 to 3.5 weeks in January, which was hard. So that was rough. And now they're back and producing, but we're getting things later than we should. So this is the first time that we've had that issue. So, we fly
So
everything over. We
is
don't put things
is
on
all your
boat.
stuff being produced in Portugal then?
Yes.
See,
Everything is produced in
that's a
Portugal.
massive advantage right there too.
It's
Like,
yeah, well, I mean, it costs a lot more, but
oh
it's
yeah,
worth it. It's worth it for many reasons, and then
they'll
we
make high quality
also
stuff there.
they do. I mean, they
Like
really know what they're
like their
doing.
shoes are like high quality. Like I
Yeah, they are. Yes, they're really wonderful, and so, um, and then we fly everything over instead of put it on the boat.
which
So
is another
that's
added expense. Yeah,
yeah,
like
that's
time
expensive
is
as well,
money, right? Like, yeah.
but it's
I
worth
mean, I
it.
did that with my own brand, and like, they're like, oh, it's and they're full of crap. They're like, oh, it's 6 weeks for shipping. I'm like, for boat. I'm like, yeah, freaking right, whatever. If that was not now, that's triple that.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, I'll just pay the extra for air, like
Yeah,
whatever. I'll
yeah,
put, like I don't know. So then you just fly it in. So then where does it all go to LA then? Is
it
that the
does.
main
Yeah, it comes
facility?
right here.
And then
Mhm. We use DHL, which is a great partner, and yeah, it comes right here to the warehouse.
So then, what? Oh, I already know this. This is a canned question, but like, so like you guys already signed up somebody to like kind of work with you, right? Like a big, famous LPGA player.
You mean Annika Sörenstam?
Yeah, I can't believe that right away. That's
Yeah.
like how did that come about? Because that's, I
Well,
mean,
let
she's
me
a
tell you.
legend.
Yeah, slightly.
She really, yeah.
So I actually, well, I've known not Annika for about 12 years, socially. Um, During that, I mean, I've known her and her husband Mike and her children, and enjoy them all so much. And of course, I have complete respect and total awe for Annika. Um, when I saw them last summer, so one of the reasons that we see them often is both Annika and my husband play in the American Century Championships in Lake Tahoe, which is the celebrity golf tournament in Lake Tahoe. So when we're together with them for a week. And so when I saw them last July, Mike mentioned to me that her deal at Cutter and Buck was ending at the end of the year. And so I said, "Well, what are her plans?" And he said, "Well, we don't really know. We have a couple of things in the works." And I said, "Well, if there's any way that I can be part of the discussion," I said, "I realize I'm very new, but if there's any way I can be part of the discussion, I would love to." So he said, "Okay, well, we'll keep you in mind." And so 2 months later, he called and he said, "Okay, we're talking to a bunch of people. Do you want to have a conversation?" And I said, "Absolutely." So I said, "But, prior to even having a conversation, let me send some clothes over to Annika. Let's see if she likes the style, the fabrics, the fit, etc. Because if she doesn't,
Yeah.
there's no reason to even talk." Well, turns out she liked them a lot. And Mike would send me, snapshots here and there of her wearing our clothes, like just out and about, or you
Like
cooking dinner.
normal. Like she
Yeah, just
really
like
liked your clothes, not like, oh, I
and
like it because they're paying me.
yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was of interest to her is she mentioned to me that that she felt like whenever she left the golf course, she always looked like she had a glove in her back pocket, meaning that the clothes that she was wearing looked so golfy that she couldn't do anything else in them.
Hmm.
So one of the things that she liked about LOHLA Sport, and one of our key aspects when we design, is that they are so transitional that you can put an outfit on in the morning, you can do yoga in it, you can go to the gym, you can play golf, you can have lunch with your friends, she can give a keynote speech and then have dinner and not change. I mean, it's very hard to say that, to find clothes that are that flexible and stretchy and look good, to do that. So she loved how transitional it was, because she's a busy girl. She's got busy days, and so she needed clothes to keep up with her. Um, so, long story short, there were several other contenders for her. I kept in there like a bulldog. Like, I want you, I want you, I want you. And yeah, it was pretty exciting news when they called me one day to tell me that she was going to choose Lola. So
That's
it
really
was,
cool.
I mean, and to be honest, it already, the amount of congratulations that have come in, and um, people taking note of Lola Sport because she's part of it is quite outstanding. I mean, I hadn't really anticipated what I'm seeing. I mean, we have some accounts saying, "Make sure that whatever she's wearing in the tournaments is on my order." And I wasn't anticipating that, that they want to make sure that whatever she's seen in TV, they have it.
Wow.
Um, so anyway, she's quite influential, inspirational, and I mean, I couldn't be happier with it. And I know, by the way, that Arnold Palmer would be so happy. He loved both of us, and I know he's like smiling from above about this.
So like, that was like last month, right? When did she
It
sign? Last
was,
month.
yeah. So we announced it in January. Yes.
That's, I mean, you guys are just priming the pump, right? Essentially, because I mean, you've already, look how much growth you've had in a year. You already know what you're doing. I mean, you've done it for so long. You're well
Yes.
connected in the industry, and then you get, superstars essentially to join, right? To
Yeah.
support what you're doing. Like, yeah, I think women's golf apparel needs this though. I really do. I think that like there hasn't been anything like this ever, right? I mean, you have women's golf apparel brands, but not like
Yes.
not like
Well,
this. This is different.
I always like to say that that when you walk into a department store, not everybody is like centered around one rack. Okay. There are people have different tastes.
Yeah.
And so, and one of the reasons that drew me to Golfino was it matched my taste. So, just because, I wear certain brands outside of golf that I love, and
Yeah.
just because I play golf doesn't mean I completely, obliterate my sense of style. So I want to keep that same sense of style. Like if I'm wearing, I love like Legence and Rag and Bone and Vince and Theory, and I love those styles. So if I want to look, sort of in a similar way on the golf course, that's what drew me to Golfino. And we kind of keep with that same mantra, maybe even a little bit more so. We've got even more technical fabrics. And I think that Lola is a bit more wearable than Golfino was because it isn't quite as European. So
It's
it is
yeah,
maybe,
I can see
but
that. Yeah.
it has an American flair to it. So anyway, that's kind of where we fit into the puzzle. In terms of ladies golf fashion is I think we match a certain style that was not really represented in golf.
So, like, what is your initial items that you've like produced, like skirts, tops,
Oh, we got
jacket?
it
It looks
all.
like
We have it all except for rainwear right now, but we're working on it. So the best selling thing that we have is our pant. It's called the Very Pant, which actually is a Seinfeld takeoff because at one point, as Jay Peterman said, "Oh, it was the very pants that I wore to cross the Himalayas." So anyway, so it's called the Very Pant
that's
because it could
hilarious.
also be known as, the very pant I wore when I broke 80, the very pant I wore when I won the club
That's a good
championship.
name. That's a good name.
Anyway, it's called the Very Pant because it indicates specificity, which is hard to say. So that is, well, actually, let me show it to you. Hang on, because I do have clothes right here. So that is, I'll show it to you in a color. These are really great though. So they're made out of a French sulfoletta material. So they're very, very stretchy. They're like an ankle pant length, and they have 4 pocket, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. I can't tell you though how stretchy they are. So even though, women have gotten kind of a little lazy with the pull-on pants, and we make a pull-on pant too, but anyway, but this at least is a nice look. It has a full closure, with an actual zipper and a
Yeah.
button. And but it has the movability of a pull-on pant. So you actually really, are looking good, but you can still maintain all this flexibility. So they're really great. But we have made this we did develop this thing called the Golf Fitness pull-on pant. And it is
Does it pull on really? Like
it's
it
definitely
looks like a real pant, but
it's
it's
definitely one of my favorite things we've made. Let me see if I can find that. Hang on a second.
I love those. I know a couple men's brands that do that. And the first time I ever put them on, I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
So this is the Golf Fitness pull-on pant. It is a tad, it's made from an Italian fitness fabric. It's, I would say, like 75% thicker than a normal yoga pant. Okay. And so it has a little bit more hold to it, and it's not going to show anything. It doesn't show any, weird lumps, bumps, or anything else. Okay. So anyway, it's a really, really nice fabric. They are high waisted with some tummy tuck ability. They are also longer so that you don't see any calf hanging out the bottom. So it goes all the way to your ankle. And then, but the kicker is the 2 back pockets, which is what makes them golf appropriate so that you can wear them to most country clubs. I mean, every country club is different, but the way that, especially after COVID, the way that apparel restrictions are lessening a little bit, it sort of drives me crazy then when people wear the wrong thing. It doesn't mean, you can be a little more casual, but you still have to wear something appropriate, in my view. If they say you can wear a t-shirt, don't wear a cotton t-shirt that gapes open and, it's a mess. Wear one of our t-shirts that has the wonderful stretch and is super flattering on and has a high crew neck so that, you're not going to see anything that you shouldn't see. So anyway, but the Golf Fitness pull-on pants are ridiculously popular. And so now we had just come out with navy. Now it's navy, black, and this spring it's bougainvillea, and then we've got a few other colors coming for the fall. So anyway, yeah, they're pretty cool. So That's our pull-on pant for you.
So, what apparel wise, like what do you want to make that you're not making now?
Okay, I have a few things. Well, first of all, I do want to make rainwear eventually, um, because not many women would play in the rain, but I do, and so
Yeah,
there are others. And you know, rainwear is kind of the most unflattering stuff.
attractive, like
Let me tell you.
for
So,
anybody.
you know,
So you're in a
we're gonna
garbage
make
bag.
we are going to make some lovely, attractive rainwear soon. I also would like to make kids. So, I in sizing, we start our top size at double XXS, because I can
That's
remember
even a
as a
size?
what?
I'm
It is
like, that's
size,
even a size?
it's small. But I can remember as a preteen and as a junior golfer not having anything to wear.
Oh yeah.
And so this size, not only is it made for petite women, but it's also for that preteen girl who's looking for something to wear to play golf. But I would like to eventually expand that to sizes maybe 4 through 12 for girls, because I think the boys side is quite well represented, particularly with Johnny O, which is one of
Mhm.
my favorite men's brands. But they don't make girls. So I would like to take a few of our styles and produce them for girls coming up. So that's coming. And then I have one other thing that I can't tell you about. You'll be the second person to know when it happens that we're developing right now.
It's kind of cool because now you're like growing into others. You're doing other things, right? Not like, oh, we're strictly apparel. Like, it's like you can start branching
Oh, yeah.
outside
And you
that
know what?
normal
Here's the
lane.
thing, Paul. I get to have fun with this. And if you know what, if we're not having fun, then what are we doing it for? I get to, I get to call a pant the very pant and make, goofy claims
Yeah,
about
it's a
stories,
creative process,
you know?
right? And you're enjoying it.
Yeah,
It's not like I'm doing it to make a check.
it's
It's
very
like I'm having fun. Like this is fun for me. I can take
you know?
25 years of my experience and do this. And
Yeah.
you have a lot of help. You have like more control as to what you want to do, not just trying to sell somebody else's design and be like, oh yeah, this is
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
Like um. So then, what are your plans for this year? Like, any big like, is there big plans for you guys? Like, no, you haven't announced anything, but like, you know, have you already released your spring line or is that coming out soon or what?
So spring is starting to deliver now. We're in the middle of selling fall. So, we pre-sell that to the club. So we're in the middle of doing that. Um, we had, so I don't know if you knew this, last year we had an Indy car as well. So we had our brand on an Indy car at the Indy 500, and we are still part of this motorsports company. It makes trust me, there is no clear tie between ladies golf apparel and motorsports. And that's what I love about it. That it's something that is so voraciously popular, right? And as popular as golf, but in a totally different sector, but it's
Yeah.
still sport related. And I want to be a friend to all sports. That is my thing. So anyway, we've become involved in this motorsports group, and so we are still kind of. We think we're going to do Indy this year, but it might be deferred to next year. But nonetheless, we're doing 4 IMSA races, which we've just done the 24 hours at Daytona.
Wow.
Clearly, it's not me racing the car, but
That'd
Stefan
be pretty
Wilson,
cool.
English, and he's fantastic. So anyway, there's a race team. We're part of it. That is going on this year. And then, of course, whatever Annika wants to do. But we're also actually, let me tell you one thing that we're doing. This is really cool. Actually, this is the first time I've ever said it like to
Out
anybody in the
loud.
media, Paul.
I'm not a
Okay.
media. I'm just Paul from
So,
my podcast.
media Paul. So I have been a club champion before, okay, at my country club. And while that is very exciting and you get a nice trophy, I always felt like, you really should get like other things. So
Yeah.
this year, for all of our accounts, all of our wholesale accounts, whenever they announce a club champion, we are going to be sending a gift, a LOHLA Sport gift.
Oh, that's
Congrats,
really cool.
you've created, okay,
That's
so
like
you're gonna,
brilliant.
well, it's kind of important. Okay, these women work hard to win their club championship. I know. Anyway, and then that idea has grown some legs to where at the end of the year, we're going to have a year-end culminating tournament of club champions where all of
That's
these ladies
cool.
are going to be invited together to compete against each other, and Annika is going to host it
Oh
and
wow.
she will give a clinic and then give out our prizes, and we will be able to say that in our room we have a room full of champions, including, of course,
Dude, that is
Annika.
so freaking smart. That is
So anyway,
really
it's
smart.
exciting.
That
I'm
is.
really excited about it. I want to celebrate competitive golf. I want to celebrate ladies competitive golf. And just because, you're past college age, you're still competitive. You still have that like fire inside you to play well. So I want to celebrate
That's
that.
smart. That's super smart. That's really smart. I think that's a really good idea because no one's ever done that. Not even in men's,
I
right?
don't I don't I don't think
Like
they have. I'm not
not that
going to
I'm
claim.
aware of. Not that they
I'm not
might.
aware
No,
of it
I've
either.
never heard that. I mean, maybe I'm not, but
Yeah, I'm definitely
I mean
not aware of it either, but I'm not going to claim it as
it's
my
a
own.
really good way of giving back too. And then talking about brand loyalty. I don't know, I'd be like, I don't know. That's just really smart. That's like next level smart. So
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about
no,
it.
for reals, that's
It's going
really
to be fun.
smart. Because I
It's going
think
to
it's the thing too. I think people want to do stuff like that, and they have that idea, but you're actually doing it, right? Like, oh, that'd be a good idea. We should do that, and then
Yeah.
it'll never happen.
Yeah.
Um, wow,
Yeah, it's going to be a
that's
lot of
really
fun.
cool.
I'm excited. And then hopefully, I mean, we might only get, a few ladies to come this time. I mean,
Oh yeah, right. That's not gonna happen.
but
So whatever.
hopefully it'll
You
it'll
could play a
it'll
municipal course, like a really like you should trick them, and you should like play the worst course in California, and be like, oh here it is, the fancy course. It's like a 1-star course. That'd be.
No, we
Just
will host it
kidding.
at one of our wholesale accounts. We will host it there. So we're
No,
still
that'd be
right now
neat.
we're in talks with 3 of them about the location of this tournament.
I mean, it's
But
all good publicity for them, anyways. I mean, like seriously.
yeah, I hope so. I hope they see it as that, you know.
Well, I'm really excited to have you on the show today. I think what you've done in your career is like special, and I think like honestly, based on what you told me today, like you guys are gonna be huge. I already know it. Like
I hope
in the next
so.
couple of years, like you'll be like I don't know. I've been waiting for a brand like this in women's sport apparel. Like for real, I haven't seen one. Like I said earlier before the show, like there's not a lot, right? And
Yeah.
like men try to make women's clothing, right? They'll try to add it into their stuff so they can make a sale for women,
Yeah.
but it's like it doesn't work, right? Because it's not
Mhm.
like they understand it. They're just doing it because they're trying to sell product. So I think
Right.
with your like I don't know, it's just fascinating because like you're doing it the right way and you're bringing your expertise, your designer with what he's done. You're getting it made in Europe, right? Not made in China. It's not crap. It's high end
Yeah.
stuff, and you're doing green grass. And I mean, with what percentage do you think that the online versus green grass is? Like probably what 95% is
Oh,
green grass,
yes.
5%.
For me, yeah.
Yeah.
For me right now. I mean, the online will grow as our brand recognition grows, but yeah, currently it's
No.
somewhere between
It's
5
just
and
so
10.
cool because you don't see a lot of brands doing that anymore. You just don't. I've talked to a lot of brands and like
Mhm.
very few brands are doing green grass, and the ones that are, I'm like that's awesome because
Mhm.
I just feel like people are lazy. They don't
Yeah.
want to make those relationships. They're just like I'm just gonna run ads on Facebook or whatever, and just gonna try to sell my product, and it's like
Yeah.
whatever. But well, thank you for being on the show today.
Well,
I
thank
really
you,
enjoyed our
Paul.
conversation,
Me
and
too.
I hope to play golf with you sometime, and
We will do it.
you can embarrass me about how good you are. Cause you're like scratch, right? I bet
No,
you're
I'm
scratch.
not no, I'm, like 5 now.
Jeez. Yeah.
Don't tell anybody.
Um,
Embarrassing.
and hope to have you on the show again in the future, maybe another year from now when you have more stuff. I already know this. You guys are gonna be big. I already freaking know
Aw,
it. I
thank
can tell which. No, I'm not just saying that. I don't say it to everybody. When I hear certain things, I'm like, oh yeah, they're gonna be big.
you.
So, but thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I appreciate it. I look forward to meeting you in person sometime.
Where can people find you?
So online at lohlasport.com, and it's LOHLA. So it stands for Lisa O'Hurley LA.
I didn't ask that question. Oh my god.
Actually,
I was gonna ask that. That was the one I was gonna ask you.
my
Okay.
son thought of that, which is hilarious. And that
Oh,
was
that's cool. Neat.
his 13-year-old contribution, which was a big contribution, by the way. He recognized that I sign everything LOH, and he's like, you need to put that in there. Like, okay. And
No,
then he
that's
came up
freaking.
with,
I was
I
gonna
know,
ask you that. I really was. I was like, how did she come with that name?
uh,
Like it's like
So it's
I
at, well, because people told me my name should be in it, but I'm not that kind of person, anyway. But so my son said, well, why don't you just have your initials in it? So anyway, it kind of took
No,
off
that's
like
really
that.
cool.
So it's LOHLAsport.com. And then you can find us also in, 200 fine golf shops. And if your golf shop doesn't have it, please ask your merchandise buyer to take a look at it.
No, that's yeah. Check them out, my lady listeners. Seriously, this
Yeah.
is cool stuff. Well, I will see you guys in the next episode.